So folks, please give a warm welcome to Jen Segger.
Thank you. It's small and black, weightless, and travels with me everywhere. This is my pain box. It's my trusty sidekick that I've used to help deal with the physical and mental challenges of a life spent adventuring and racing. Team Expedition Adventure Racing is where I got my first real taste of what the word to suffer really meant. If you can embrace pain the way I have, it just might be your ticket to travel the world, meet incredible people, and push yourself in ways that you never thought possible. One of my early career racing goals was to challenge myself as a solo female, and that took me to the Sahara, to a 6-day run across the desert in Morocco at the Marathon des Sables. Regardless of being broke and having to work 3 jobs in Whistler to pay for the experience, I was committed to doing whatever it took to get myself to that start line. It was extremely hot. My whole body was in pain, and it took every bit of courage to lace up my shoes every day. This is where I learned to really use my pain box, a mental tool to help me deal with the uncomfortableness of long-distance endurance racing. I decided to put all the sufferings inside and not open that box until I crossed the finish line. I guess it worked. Eventually came Badwater. The name says it all. My goal was to become the youngest female to ever complete the 135-mile run across Death Valley, California, in one of the most inhospitable and challenging terrains found anywhere in the world. Badwater is not so much a race against the other competitors. It's a race of science, team support, and most importantly, you versus the environment. After a 700-kilometer adventure race in South Africa, I realized while on a running trip through the Canadian Rockies that my body was overly tired and physically ill. It came to be that I had African tick fever, one of the risks that comes with adventuring in remote places. Trust me, I can think of better souvenirs to bring home. You become pretty tight with your teammates after several years. I needed that and my pain box when during our last night section one year at Brazil Ecomotion, I put on a pair of bike shorts only to be pierced by hundreds of fire ants in my chamois. My teammates had to quickly develop their own pain box that night after having to witness my bare ass on a mountain bike. As I've grown older and wiser, I've also learned that everything does not need to be a race or for time or some epic challenge. It's important to have balance in your life. Taking up ski touring, SUPing in the Great Bear Rainforest, keeping the stoke for fun, passion, and adventure is equally as important. Pain box suddenly becomes fun box. They say diamonds are a girl's best friend. One year I traveled to the Northwest Territories to compete for a first place prize of a $10,000 diamond. After 6 days of -30 temperatures and dealing with a partially torn muscle, I lost by 22 minutes and went home empty-handed. My only take home from that experience was Achilles tendonitis that would affect me for another 4 years. I'm from Vancouver Island. In 2009, I came up with the idea of running and biking in a non-stop fashion, linking the major trail networks from Cape Scott in the north to Victoria in the south. It had never been done before. 750K in just under 4 days, on 4 hours of sleep. It was mission complete. We got her done. After so many unforgettable personal experiences, I was fortunate to be able to give back and support as a female mentor 5 amazing youth ambassadors on Impossible to Possible's first expedition across Baffin Island. I shared my pain box imagery with them, telling them that should a polar bear visit us in camp at night, they may want to quickly develop their own pain box. The race that has captured my heart the most was the Tour de Géants, a 400-kilometer non-stop running race in Italy. With inflamed bronchioles, coughing up blood, I persevered through 350K of the course, but finally pulled the pin 50K from the finish line. After 10 years of racing in some of the most extreme environments, on some of the most challenging courses, this was my first DNF. But not allowing my first DNF to set me back, it was on to another team expedition race across the Mojave Desert just 4 days later. We dropped through canyons, avoided cactuses, and raced ourselves to a first-place finish. Suffering is much more enjoyable when you are in an awesome location. I've selected my races over the years based on challenges that I want to undertake and the places I want to visit. This is where my philosophy of challenge by choice has come from. No complaining, just go out and get the job done and embrace the ups and downs along the way. Learning to keep your head in the game makes the blisters, the destroyed quads, the heavy shoulders, the stomach aches, and the throwing up somehow disappear. When I can stay in the game mentally, I don't notice the minute-by-minute pain so much. Find that thing that motivates you. Here is a bucket list item that motivated me. I'm not a triathlete, but 2 summers ago, I took on my first try at Ultraman Canada. 10K swim and 150K bike on day 1, 250K bike on day 2, 84K run on day 3. My real fear with this was the swim. I swim like a rock, and to make matters worse, I ripped my wetsuit the day before the race. Yep, a big slice right up my backside. All I could do on race morning was not bend over. I raced hard for 3 days. My wetsuit held, a miracle in itself. I somehow managed a first-place female win, but what I was the most proud of was overcoming a weakness and pushing through my fear of swimming. Then there are those races where my pain box hardly gets touched. A 100-kilometer race in Ireland was one of those times. I loved the terrain, I loved the company I was running in, and it was the first time I experienced a race of pure enjoyment. This is what they call being in a state of flow, and I want more of those in my years ahead. With my body breaking down as a result of adrenal fatigue and Achilles tendonitis, I couldn't say no, though, to pacing a friend up the Zion 100 in Utah. The day after the race, and inspired by the unique landscape of Zion National Park, I ran across its 50-mile length. And since I was in the area, how could I not do a rim-to-rim-to-rim crossing of the Grand Canyon the day right after? My mind was writing checks, though, that my body couldn't cash. With a goal, motivation, and a pair of running shoes, it's amazing what you can actually accomplish. Knowing my body needed a break, I ended the 2012 race season at the Leadville 100. Not a performance that I'm proud of, but I proved to myself that I could probably suffer better than anyone, a mental strength that I have worked hard to develop. Adventures give me confidence. They give me a high, and they keep me motivated. It's a place where my true happiness is found. The experiences that I've had far outweigh the pain and suffering that comes along with pushing the body and the mind to the edge. Set big goals, find places that inspire you, do things that make you smile, and above all else, don't forget to bring your pain box, just in case. Thank you.
Wow. Jane was quite anxious beforehand. She was, as we, maybe you don't know, we're going to ask a question of each speaker, so she was quite nervous about what I was going to ask her. Jane, you've had to overcome some really tough injuries throughout your career, and obviously, as you've just described, you've got a penchant for suffering. What have you learned from the experience of overcoming your injuries that might translate to somebody overcoming setbacks in their life in general?
Probably one of the things is just to really listen to your body and do what's right. Do what's right for you. I sort of reflect back on all these years and the things I've done, and not that I would change anything for a minute, but there's definitely times where I would maybe step back and approach things a little bit differently. And then, you know what? You still have a lifetime of adventures and exploration ahead of you, so it doesn't always need to be crammed in, and you're not missing out on anything. It's always there. There's plenty to do, and there's years ahead. Cool. So.
Thanks. Let's hear it for Jen Segger.